Hello everyone, welcome to Atubu Concepts. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to draft 2-in-1 pencil sketch block, the front and the back in one single block, no back block. And I'm briefly going to show you how you are going to copy this 2-in-1 pencil sketch block with a pattern piece. And this pattern piece, I will show you how you are going to use it to cut the front and the back of your fabric. It's just one pattern piece, no two pattern pieces. One pattern piece is going to do the job. Yes, if you are interested, come with me. Let's go have some fun with this. And if you've not subscribed, please try and do so. And don't forget to click that notification bell. The notification bell and the subscription button work together. Thank you. Come, let's go have some fun with this. These are the tools that I'm going to be using for this tutorial today. If you don't have some of these tools, don't bother yourself. Just work with what you have. You definitely get the same result. I'm using some of these tools because I want my tutorial to be faster. Please fold 1.5 inches to the back like this before you cut out the space that you are going to draft on. And make sure you have enough length and width that will cover your drafting. It's very important. Before I start, I'm going to create a start line 1 inch away from the beginning of the drafting paper, which happens to be the waistline. I'll be using my dress form measurements because I'm going to be working with my dress form on a regular basis. I need a block for it to make my creating of garment very easy. You can use your own measurement or someone else. It doesn't really matter. I am using inches for this tutorial today, and I have 6 measurements to draft with. Number 1, the hip vertical measurement. My hip vertical measurement is 8. I put my tape at the waistline, then I'm going to bring it down to 8. I mark 8. Number 2, the full length of the skirt. The full length of my skirt is 27. So from the waist down, I'm going to mark 27. You can use any measurement that you like. It can be longer, it can be shorter, it doesn't really matter. But I'm using 27. Number 3, the hem allowance. I'm going to use 2 inches for the hem allowance. So if I add it to 27, that will be 29. I'm going to mark 29. Then I'm going to roll across. The next step is to label the lines to know which is which as we go further. The waistline, the hip line, the hem allowance line, and the center front. Number 4, the waist circumference. My waist circumference is 30. When I divide 30 by 4, I will have 7.5. And that 7.5, I'm going to add 1 inch for the dart that is going to come to this area later. So I will now have 8.5. I'm not going to add any ease allowance to this waistline because we want our skirt to be fitted to our waist. We don't want it dropping. So I'm going to mark exactly 8.5. Number 5, the hip circumference. My hip circumference is 40. When I divide 40 by 4, I'll have 10. And that 10, I'm going to add 1/2 inch for ease allowance because we don't want our skirt to be glued to our body. I'm going to use the 10 inches that I used for the hip line, also for the hem line. Because we are creating a pencil skirt, I'm going to reduce that 10 by 2. When I reduce 10 by 2, I'll have 8. Then I'm going to add 1/2 inch for ease allowance. That will be 8.5. So I'm going to mark 8.5. Number 6, nipple to nipple measurement for creating the darts. We are using the nipple to nipple measurement to create the dart because the nipple line is where the dart is coming from. Then past the waistline to the hip area. That is why we are using nipple to nipple measurement to create the dart. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7. When I divide 7 by 2, I have 3.5. I'm going to mark 3.5 at the waistline. Like that. I'm going to use 4 inches for the length of the dart. Then I'll connect this point to this point. Then the 1 inch we added to the waist earlier, we are going to use it now. We share it into 2, 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch on the other side. and connect this point to this point, this point to this point. Then we are going to create something like a triangle at the top here to enable also that in properly. To do that, you have to extend the center line with 1/2 inch. Connect this point to this point, this point to this point. We are going to put this waist point up with 1/4 inch. Then we are going to connect this point to this point with a French curve. If you don't have a French curve, carefully maneuver it with your hand. Then we are going to connect this point to this point with a French curve, then connect this point to this point with a straight roller. I'm carefully going to fold this hem allowance to the back for accurate hemming before I trim it out. Now I'm going to trim the edges out. I'm going to wipe this line out with a tapes. I've made use of it. We don't need it anymore so that the skirt can be very clear. The front of our pencil skirt is already created, and this is block 1. I'm still going to construct the block 2 on this same block 1. How am I going to do that? To create the block 2, first I will reveal the zip stand from the back. This is the zip stand. I'm going to separate the zip stand from the main body with a different marker. I'm going to finish both lines up through the zip stand. I'm going to measure 8 inches for the slit minus the hem allowance. The zip stand is 1.5. I'm going to remove 1 inch from it. I'm going to add 1/2 inch up here for the slit. I'm going to trim this part off later. The next step is to create the back dart. The front dart is 4 inches, while the back dart is going to be 5 inches. So how do we bring the back dart to the front dart? This is the way I'm going to bring it to this same front block. So this center line is 4 inches. I'm going to add 1 inch at the bottom to make it 5 inches with a different marker. This is a pink marker. Then you still use 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch on the other side. The pink 5 inches dart is the back dart, while the green 4 inches dart is the front dart. I'm going to label it so that you know the difference between the two. The green one is the front dart, while the pink one is the back dart. So I'm going to trim this off. The 5 inches pink dart and the zip stand, that is the back block. That's block 2. The back dart and the front dart are both on the same single block. This is it. With the 5 inches dart and the zip stand, block 2 is completed. The only difference from the back block from the front block is the 5 inches dart and the zip stand. Every other parts are the same. Our end goal is to use the 2-in-1 block to cut out fabric. So how do you do that? 1, you don't pin your block to your fabric. You always copy your block. So I'm going to briefly show you how you can copy your block. I'll briefly show you also how you can use your pattern piece to cut out your fabric. This is the zip stand. This is my pattern paper. I place my block on it. I'm going to copy it now. This block is for stretchy and non stretchy fabric. It's for both. I always copy my block in 2 ways. I copy one with seam allowance for the non stretchy fabric. That one I will add seam allowance at the waistline, also at the side seam. And I copy another one for the stretchy fabric without seam allowance. I only add seam allowance only at the waistline, because if you don't add seam allowance at the waistline and you sew your skirt like that, the length of your skirt is going to be reduced. So always add 1/2 inch seam allowance at the waistline for the stretchy fabric. So this is how I copy my block. For the non-stretchy fabric, Now I'm going to add 1/2 inch at the side seam and also at the waistline. I'm using pencil. I'm going to trace it out later with a marker. To bring the two dart to the pattern paper, I'm going to punch a hole here and also punch a hole here. You can use big needle to punch a hole there. Then I'm going to use pencil to put a mark there and put a mark there. When you raise this up, the two marks are there. Then you continue with these 3 lines because we are using inches. This is 1/2 inch seam allowance at the side. I've already added it. You trace this out like this. I finished transferring them to this pattern paper. Now I'm going to trim it out. I finished trimming out the pattern piece. A single pattern piece, no back block. The back and front are both on this single pattern piece. We are going to cut out the front part of this pencil skirt first. This is my fabric that I'm using, and it's non-stretchy fabric. It doesn't stretch. Before you put your pattern piece on top, make sure your fabric is on the fold like this. Place your pattern piece on top. Because we are cutting out the front first, you put this zip stand to the back like this. Then this is your front piece that we are going to cut now. The next step is to pin it down with your tailor pins so that it don't shift. So I'm going to cut along the edges. The only thing you need to bring to your fabric is this hem line and this 4 inches green dart. How do you do that? You take your marker, you put it through the hole that you have pierced like this. As you do that, it's going to appear in your fabric. Then you iron through. That's all about this. Now we are going to cut the back of the pencil skirt. I've put my fabric into 2. You can see there's an opening here, and this is where the zip stand is going to be. I'm going to put my pattern piece on top because we are cutting out the back now. So I'm going to bring out the zip stand because this is the back. We finished everything with the front with this pattern piece. We don't need this pattern piece for that front anymore. We have brought that pattern piece now to also cut out the back of the pencil skirt. Now we reveal the zip stand and we are going to go with 5 inches dart. That's the one for the back. Pin it to your fabric like we did with the first one, then cut it out. I've cut it out already. I'm going to bring 3 things to the fabric. First, I'm going to bring this hem line to the fabric and bring the zip stand line to the fabric as well. Then the last one, I'll bring the 5 inches dart also to the fabric. How am I going to do that? First, let me start with this. The way I did with the front fabric, I'm also going to do it with the back. And you remove the pin. Take this off with the pin. This point, you put a pin, then mark it at the back like that. Exactly what we did to the front part. You see the mark that we put at the back, this mark and this mark, you connect it with a ruler. That's the hem line. Then you connect this point to this point. You connect this center point to this point as well. That's the only two lines that you need. Then you connect this point to this point. Turn the fabric to the other side and mark all the points out as well. You bring this point to this point to this point. You hold it like this and sew along this line. You only need the zip stand line on one side, not on both sides. We successfully cut out the front and the back of this fabric with this single 2-in-1 pattern piece. That's the main purpose of this video. Our mission is accomplished. I think we've come to the end of this tutorial. If you like this video, please give me thumbs up. And don't forget to share this video with others so that they will know that there's a new method of creating a pencil skirt. They will thank you for it later. And if you've not subscribed, don't forget to click that subscription button. And when you click that subscription button, immediately click the notification bell with it. When you click that notification bell, 3 options will come out. Click the first one, which is ALL. Once you've done that, you are good to go. Why am I emphasizing on that bell? Because I don't want you to miss out in any of my teachings. There are lots of teachings that are going to be coming on this channel. New ideas that you've never seen before. Yes. And I don't want you to miss out on them. So, subscribe and click that notification bell. And if you have any question whatsoever, don't forget to leave it at the comment section below. I'll be more than glad to answer any of your questions. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. God bless you.